It looks like we are live. Just about. All right, how is everyone doing? IceCat X, how are you? Ben Thompson, checking in on YouTube. Try UNP, how are you? Okay. Well, looks like we're rolling. So, thank you so much for joining me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Levine, and if you're joining us on the Creative Cloud Facebook page or on YouTube or on Twitter Periscope, I've got multiple live chats here, so always good to see all of you today. And this morning's topic is a brief one. What's up, Jan? What's up, Visual Valencia? What's up, David Lewis? Which is effectively, hey, Desiree, do your workspaces bring you joy? Common theme these days, right? Marie Kondo. And hey, what's up, Mo? How are you, man? And I was talking with a colleague about this last week in San Francisco, and it occurred to me that, yes, workspaces can actually frustrate you a great deal. And while I think most users are aware that you can customize all of these, you can really customize them to minimize really exactly what you need on screen, and then either overwrite existing ones or resave existing ones or just create new ones from existing ones. And it just improves the experience of working inside of the app. Before we made the move from CS 5.5 to CS 6, that was a pretty significant change in 2012. We really reskinned the UI and removed a lot of the buttons and things that people they were just in the way, and they were very annoying, and it just took up so much UI. Well, taking that a step further, you have additional ways to really minimize buttons and additional little elements inside the video and audio track headers inside the sequence panel to really just make it a smoother experience overall. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Just before I do, a quick shout over here, just back to the chats. I got to figure out a better way to look at all of these chats. Mariana Ludford, Wesley, what's up? Frank, yes, indeed, presenting at NAB. I will be there a few short weeks away. Kind of scary. Alan, Paulina, how are you? Long time no see. David Ham, Ray Ortiz. Oh, thank you. Ray, it can be yours. Claudio from Romania, great to see you. All right. Very nice. Wesley, Hassan, how are you? Okay. Sweet. Oh, we've got quite a few people chiming in on YouTube as well. What's up, Evil Cerise? Fiona, great to see you. Aridai, so great to see you as well. David Silky, Keith Owen, Ricky Ricardo. Well, thank you so much. Psycho Phil from Texas. Toot Toot Monster changed your life. That's one of the best comments I've ever heard, dude. Thank you. It's just keeping it real when you've got the little ones, right? And Adam Townsend. So, okay. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this. I want to try and keep this short and sweet. Also the name of a former series of mine on before Adobe Live, when we had Adobe TV, if anybody remembers that. Did a show with my colleague Carl Soule. So yeah, do your workspaces bring you joy? So this was really inspired by a colleague of mine, Kush, over at Adobe. We were talking last week in San Francisco. And just real quickly, just to showcase to you how you can really maximize your time in the app and minimize the clutter, okay? So first and foremost, everything is contained in a dockable, resizable panel. And when I click on our panels, you'll see that they'll show focus with this little blue line here. This will all work effectively the same whether you're in Premiere, After Effects, Audition, Character Animator, or Media Encoder. Obviously, Media Encoder has less panels to begin with, but even still, you can really minimize things down to the bare bones just to keep it clean and really easy to see, all right? So when you go into these panels here, again, as I click through them and change focus, kind of gives you an idea of their sizing, etc. If you wanted to, say, move these panels around, again, I talk about this a lot because some people just don't really play around and they're not as familiar with how these things all work. If you grab the center of a panel and then you start moving inside of a docked area, it'll actually show you here. We can place it to the right of everything, below everything, maintaining the same size, place it above, just perhaps move the order around, place it along the entire side edge of the user interface. So again, this is allowing you different ways to kind of customize how these things look really easily. It takes a moment, takes a second here to get used to sort of moving the panels around, and it can sometimes get a little messy. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my the original look of this workspace right here, taking me back to the original state. Double-clicking on any of the workspaces that you see here at the top of the workspace bar will reset them to their default state. Now, you don't always see that workspace bar along the top. You can actually see it here inside the window menu as a selectable item. With some of the default workspaces, that actually disappears, and quite exactly why that is, I don't frankly know. But just to let you know that that's where it is. Now, you can also always access your workspaces from the workspace menu here. So right now, I'm working in my color workspace, and for me, this is the one that I sort of go to all the time, largely because when I'm importing footage, and typically just for the stream, now I've got my project panel down docked in the bottom left. I can move this up to the top left. Here's my files. I can drag my files in. Similarly, I usually have the media browser up here. So I'm seeing all of my content. I can drag it into my project panel, start reviewing it. Again, you've got hover scrub capability here. So as I scrub over my content, right, I can click inside of it. By the way, showcasing some footage here that I shot quite a few years ago. There's my buddy Terry White right there. You can see him in the corner. This is for Rami Malek today, right? Thinking of Egypt. Egypt was on my mind today, so I had to go back to this old footage, and it was really, really awesome. In any case, so this is kind of where I start. And this is really not so busy. I've got about 4 or 5 panels docked up at the top here, just the program monitor here, and you can notice I've got source, Lumetri, effects, and the track mixer. I've got my Lumetri color panel pretty much solely on the right side, level meters, sequence panel, and my tools. And that's about it. Now, again, maybe you want more, or maybe when you're editing or just bringing footage in, you want a huge area for all of your footage, a program monitor, and a timeline, and that's all you want. Okay, well, let's do something like that. So I'm going to go into, again, now at the bottom, I've got my project panel, so I'm going to bring it back up here. I'm simply going to click and drag it over, and you'll notice you can very easily slide these things over. Incidentally, if I were to bring up multiple panels up here, let me see if I can remember what the shortcut is here. Yeah, so if you, is it this one? Yeah, so you can also, I'm using a gesture on my mouse here, so if I go side to side, you can scroll through all the various panels that you have docked inside of this main panel. Remember that you've also got a little flyout menu here, which gives you additional control. You can close this panel. You can close all the other panels in the group. You can also stack them, keep them in small tabs. You can undock this panel so it can be freestanding, or you can move it to a second or third monitor. All of that will get saved with the workspace, all right? I work on a single monitor here. This is my iMac 5K in front of me. So one monitor, one view, which means I really need to maximize the space, right? And I don't want to add things that I really don't need. So let's talk about something that you might use, for instance, if you were simply wanting to bring footage in and review. Maybe you call this your review workspace. Well, you might want your project panel. And depending upon how you want things set up, maybe you want it a little less, a little more narrow. All right. So I'm going to set something like this, okay? Now, again, do you want the source monitor? Well, yeah, typically you kind of do want that so that you can review things, set your in and out points. Lots of reasons to have the source monitor open. Now, maybe I don't need my scopes simply for reviewing my content. All right, so let's go ahead and close this panel. Rob Scorm, I see you're all talking about resetting preferences. I missed some of the other commentary there, so I'll get back to that in a second. Let's go ahead and close the audio mixer. Let's close libraries. I don't need that open for right now. I'm going to close markers. I don't need that open for right now. I don't want effects controls. All right, and maybe we decide, maybe I want the source perhaps at the bottom, and I'll keep my footage here labeled like this instead of in the thumbnails, right? Just to give me a little more screen real estate. Now, obviously for the stream, so I can keep my, sounds very narcissistic, so I can keep my face on screen below you. Obviously, I'm already kind of minimized in terms of what I'm seeing, but you get the idea. Now again, let's come over here. I'm going to close the Lumetri color panel. All right, this gives me a little bit more space. Maybe in that case, I'll take the source and place it right next to the program monitor, something like this. Now, again here, do I need my audio meters? Nah, not really. Maybe, maybe not. So it's entirely up to you if you want to keep those things enabled or disabled. I've got my sequence here. This looks okay. And my tools just like that. All right, and maybe I actually want the sequence. I'm just looking on screen here to kind of keep these things even, just so that you can still see the tools. I just want it a bit longer, just to kind of take up more of that screen real estate. All right, so I've got my project panel, source, program, sequence, tools, level meters, good to go. All right, just like that. Real simple. Oh, and by the way, I always tend to forget to point this out. I love all the control. You'll see this exact same control that we have in Audition as in Premiere, showing valley, showing a color gradient, your actual viewable decibel range. This is particularly useful in a review process, especially if you're working with lots of dialogue and you know that you're probably going to have to use something like our auto match control because the levels are all over the place. I usually do a default of a 72 dB range just to let you see where, peaks and things are, to show you kind of the average ones. You can set dynamic or static. I like to keep them dynamic just so that I don't necessarily need to see a hold position. Although if you had potential problems in your audio, you might want to use static peaks just to see, did something kind of go a little too hot? Did we hit 0? Or maybe everything is super quiet. Hey, iNet, thanks so much. All right, catch you on the flip. I'll look for your DMs. So again, you've got a lot of flexibility where that's concerned. Hold on, I'm just bouncing over to our other chats here. All right. Hey, Rick, Christopher. Okay, let's see if there's any. All right. Shortcut for the timeline to take over the whole screen. Fiona Hamilton. Yeah, that's actually a good question there, Fiona. So if you want to do that, now again, you can do that simply by removing all of the other panels, or now this is on the US keyboard, so this will be different from the UK keyboard and the Swedish keyboard and the Japanese keyboard. On the US keyboard, it's the tilde key, which is in the upper right-hand corner, just below escape. It's also, if you were to show it here, position-wise, it's here. Of course, this is different on all of the different keyboards, and you can find this to go full screen for any panel. I can make this full screen, and there I've got my full sequence or my full timeline in view, unobstructed. And this is kind of nice if you're just sort of trying to assemble or pair things together. Of course, your Sans program monitor here. But again, you could remove all the additional panels that you don't need and just have sequence, program, and source. If that's all we wanted, we could do that too. I could even take this project panel, stick it down to where my camera is right now, and it's really super clean, all right? In fact, I kind of like that. You don't need to see the footage while I'm doing this. So this kind of gives you an idea here. Nice little 2-up side by side. It's just beautiful, right? We can even minimize the meters here just to give me a little more sequence space. I like the way that looks. Now, I wanted to talk about just a couple other elements here because remember, we've got all of these buttons. Now, this is a pretty minimal set right here. You've got your marker buttons here. You've got set in and out, go to in, go to out, all right, back one frame, play, proxies, export frame. I mean, these are just the ones that I use most commonly, global effects mute. But you don't have to show all of those. So again, if I click on the button editor, which is this plus button here in the bottom right of our program monitor. By the way, this is independent for program and source. This is where you can add or remove buttons. So like if I'm not going to be doing any VR anytime soon, I don't need the VR toggle in there. I can just click and drag it off. If I'm not going to be doing any multicam, this is the multicam button right here. I can just click and drag it off, all right? Which is not working right now for some reason. Comparison view, same thing. Global effects mute, same thing, okay? So if I wanted to add additional buttons or add a spacer for additional things, I can add those in there. Maybe I'll add a spacer after this one here. Okay, let's take that off. Let's take this off. Let's take this off. Let's take that off, okay? Let's take proxies off. I don't need those proxies right now. Let's take off the export frame while we're at it, okay? Real simple and minimal. So I've got markers, in and out, go to in and out, and then my shuttle controls. Boom, like that. Really clean, right? Now, of course, all of the keyboard shortcuts, if you've got them assigned to those buttons, they still apply. All of those things still apply. We've just minimized the set for the program monitor. Note that your source monitor, it's completely independent. So over here, I've got insert, overwrite. Typical if you're going to be, marking up content in the source monitor and then placing it into your timeline. Yeah, you might want those in the source. You don't really need those particular functions in the program monitor, right? It just depends on what you want. And I've got my export frame here because sometimes I take reference frames from the source media. But again, you've got full control simply by adjusting the button editor. Keep it clean, keep it simple. Now, additionally, let's go back to that full screen sequence here. Inside our sequence or timeline panel, we've got the wrench menu here for our timeline display settings. And in timeline display settings, this is where you also have the ability to customize the video and the audio header. That's this stuff that you see here. Now, if you don't see those things available to you in terms of editable, it's probably because you're squeezed or squished like this in a resolution where it's not displaying all of that content anyway. So, and now actually I'm seeing it. Before this was grayed out. That could actually be a little buglet. I don't know. I wasn't seeing the option until I sort of went bigger. It sometimes also has to do with, at least from what I've found here on my machine, if everything is minimized there. No, it's still letting me edit it. Weird. Okay, it wasn't showing up for me before. Now, of course, it is. Good. That's what it should be doing. So if we go into, let's just make this bigger so we can actually see what's happening here. All right, I'm going to make these physically larger. If we go into our customized video header, again, not a lot of options here, but this shows you, the track lock, sync lock rather, track output, the name, and then your keyframe buttons, okay? Typically, again, these are probably things that you just want there as you adjust the track height. Of course, those things will disappear based on position, but it's nice to be able to customize them. Similarly, with audio, you actually have a crazy amount of things that can be displayed there. So again, you've got sync lock, mute, solo, record. You've got the voiceover record buttons. So if you just want quick, easy ability to take a voiceover and just click it right inside the track and start going, you can drag that down. You've got left-right balancing and track meter. So you can see I've got the track meter in here. Maybe I want the left-right balance to be in there as well. Maybe I want that before the track meter. So I can drag it in there or I can drag it off, right? Similarly with our record, place that in there or drag it off, okay? So real easy to customize this stuff. I don't keep, as you can see, I don't keep the record button inside the audio tracks here because I don't record into Premiere that way. So why do I even need to see it? I like mute solo because sometimes when I'm in the timeline, it's just as easy if I'm not in the audio mixer. Mute solo, yes, you want that. Record, for me, I'm not doing that here. I'm not doing voiceover in Premiere. So I don't need either of those buttons. And again, things like your keyframes. Now, one thing that I like, notice that I don't have the add or go to previous keyframe buttons down here, but I do have the show keyframes button enabled. And the reason for that is largely because if you're going to be doing any kind of automation. So let's say you're in the track mixer or clip mixer and you're riding the fader or you're adjusting parameters of an effect, this will show you the keyframes for whatever it is that you modify inside the audio mixer. So whether it's, in this case, these are just defaults, volume, mute, and balance, any effect or anything that you touch, change inside the track mixer as you're playing back, you'll be able to see those keyframes here. And thus you can also thin them out, you can remove them, you can redraw them. It's just nice to have this option. This kind of works similarly in Audition, where under the automation lane where it says read, write, touch, latch, you twirl that down, you'll see this sort of similarly labeled option here to show all of the various track keyframes. So I like having that one there, and I like having the level meters for all of my audio sort of self-contained right there. But as you can see, it's fairly minimal, right? Keeping it just clean. What's missing, of course, is me actually naming these tracks. Call this Giza. And this was 7D. That's how long ago I shot this. We can call this all cam audio. All right. That's just me being anal and OCD because I can't stand not having my tracks labeled, which I'm guilty of all the time. Nice. What's up, Grungy? What's up, Vikas? Oh, Fiona, you are so nice. I will do more After Effects tutorials. Thank you for that, actually. I really appreciate that. Yep, I've been meaning to. I've got a whole schedule of things over the next few weeks. I'm back and forth to San Francisco and San Jose, so I'm going to try and stream twice a day for the next week. So thank you for that. Amit, how are you doing? Okay. So let's go back out of this, all right? So now this look, this UI, this minimized, beautiful scene happening here, this is in fact bringing me joy. Okay, we're going to just minimize this down so I can see these very cleanly right in view. And at this point, if I go up to the window menu, Workspaces, I have a couple of options. Because I built this off of the color workspace, I don't want to save changes to that because then this will now become the color workspace. I don't want that. I don't want to reset to the saved layout because that's going to take me back to where I was. Again, double clicking on any of these workspace names up here will automatically do that, and you'll get a little prompt. Hey, you're going to reset this to the original state, or the last save state, I should say. But what we want to do here is save as new workspace. All right, so we'll go save as new workspace, and I'll call this assemble joy. Okay, all right, and now this shows up here atop of my workspace bar. Keep in mind too, under Workspaces, you also have the ability to edit your workspaces. Now, what does that mean? That's actually referring to how they're displayed. So whether what you see in the workspace bar, like, okay, I don't want to see this one here, I can bring this down to the overflow menu. This representing the overflow menu right here, these little two side arrows, okay? So we have our overflow menu. We have do not show. There's just some additional old workspaces that I just don't use anymore. But you can see, again, really easily now, there's my assemble joy. Now, if I go back to color, what happens? Oh, well, we modified color, so it remembers that last state. So if I double click color, and it says, if you continue, the current workspace will be set to the last saved version. Yes, there it is. There's Lumetri color. Scopes, effects controls, audio track mixer, source monitor. Ah, beautiful. Oh, but let's go back. I want to reassemble content from my drives. Assemble joy. Ah, there that is. This brings me great joy. This brings me such a good feeling. It's clean. Oh, and by the way, it's worth pointing out, right? Notice again that not only does it maintain, you know, the nice look and feel of these things, but again, the panel resizing based on your resolution. Now, for streaming, I squeeze everything down here to 1080p. So this will look specifically this way when I'm viewing everything on this monitor at 1080p. So it will remember the resolution. Also, when you save your project, one of the things that we do here is that it saves sort of the state of the UI as well. You've probably noticed that. Some people love that, some people don't. Reasons for both, I guess. But in any case, I like this. This is comfortable. This is exactly what I wanted. And if I want to go back to that assembly, that clean look and feel, unhindered, unobstructed, it's all here, ready to go. All right? And the same sort of thing applies whether you're working in After Effects, Character Animator, Adobe Media Encoder, or Audition. Again, under Workspaces now, you will see alphabetically, and with a keyboard shortcut already applied, there is Assemble Joy. So I can go back to that at any point in time. And as mentioned, let's say that we started modifying this. Let's say we started bringing different panels up here, because as we're assembling now, we're like, oh, I need my media browser, and I want to be able to do more stuff here. So we'll just twirl some of these things down just to bring some things into view. All right, maybe we'll stick something at the bottom here like this, and we start to mess around. And now we want to go back to where it was when we saved it. If I just double click Assemble Joy, notice there's an always ask here, click yes, we're back to that state again. All right, so useful, so helpful. And once again, we also have the option here, of course, to sync our settings. So if we sync our settings, this will then allow you to either download the workspaces that you've already saved up to the cloud, or upload and modify new ones that you've made. If you go to Manage Sync Settings here, this shows you that you have some options. Okay, you can actually see Preferences, Workspace, Keyboard, and then when you sync, always upload or always download or ask your preference. So really important to kind of note that, just because, again, I don't want it to accidentally overwrite things by always uploading. So I always have it ask me when I do that. And that, my viewers, for today is creating workspace joy in Premiere, as well as After Effects, Audition, Character Animator, and Adobe Media Encoder. All right, so that is the end of my stream for now. Thank you so much for joining me. You'll be able to watch the replay on Twitter Periscope, on my YouTube channel, on the Adobe Creative Cloud Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'm just going to quickly look in here. Oh, TR Bolin, haha, how funny. Could you quickly review sync settings? There you go, Mind Reader, nice. David, thank you for that. Oh, nice, Rick Yeager. Yes, you can find a bunch of mine on my YouTube channel, as well as on the After Effects Facebook page if you're looking for recent tutorials on there. It's always kind of different. I try and cherry pick things that I use a lot, but I've got some new ones that I'll be tackling very, very soon. Okay, very nice. Oh, wow, lots of comments here on Facebook. Just look real quickly. Is it possible to keep your workspace when opening project from another friend? Sometimes it ruins my workspace, both in Premiere and After Effects. Yeah, so Salih, that's one of the things, is that because the workspace state itself, and sometimes you'll actually see if there's a workspace created, I think the workspace title actually moves with the project file as well. If you go back to yours, you just have to be sure that you don't save over an existing one. This does cause some confusion. I know there were some issues with this problem you're describing, so I think these have all been resolved. I'm not entirely certain. I haven't been sharing projects with people lately, but that is theoretically what should be happening, okay? All right. Hey, Mika, what's up? Are there still some hard-coded keyboard shortcuts? You know, there probably are, based on OS, as you well know, Mika, because you've known me for years. I'm not a huge shortcut user because, one, I can't seem to mentally retain them, but it actually just comes out of back when we used to have to present in different countries with native keyboards. The shortcuts didn't work. So there are probably some keyboard shortcuts that are fixed based on OS requirements. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I tend to think so, but I'm not entirely certain. Mariana, St. Petersburg, Russia on my mind today. Beautiful city for photographers. I would agree. Ivona from Croatia, hello. Very funny, Peter. Ha ha ha. Wesley, got some Brazilians jumping in now. Nice. Jamie Feldman, how are you? Royce Nolan, hi. Sukalayan from India. Great to see you. Fabian Schlosser. Sup. Okay. All right. Some friends from Hungary as well. Did I mention that I am part Hungarian? Have I ever said that? Jason from Dubai. Thomas Dean. Birdie Breeze from Compton. What's up? Anel Henning. Hi. And Diana from Colombia. All right. Well, my friends, thank you so much for joining. It's always lovely to see you here on the stream. I will be back in a couple of hours on the Premiere Pro Facebook page, talking about, I'm not exactly sure what just yet. And then later this week, more After Effects, more Audition, possibly some Character Animator. So have a great rest of your day wherever you are in the world, and we will see you again next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.